Hello and welcome to another car obsession walk around. Now you may be wondering why it's been a few months since I've done my last one. Well, the reason being is that I normally film these videos in the evening, and it's winter in the UK at the moment, which means the evenings are dark. But thankfully my latest test car has been delivered a few days earlier, so I've been able to film this video at the weekend. So without further ado, let's focus on the car, pop this on my head and have a look around. Right, so here we go. The brand new Suzuki Celerio. Apologies for the wind noise, the breeze has just picked up. It's a very wintry breeze today, it's very cold, so hopefully this won't take too long. But yes, the Suzuki Celerio, let's talk about the design. It's very inoffensive. It's not ugly, but it's not particularly pretty either. It's a bit bland, but it gets the job done. It's not quite as funky as some of its rivals, but it's a cheap and cheerful car, and it's made for budget conscious buyers. So I imagine for the type of people buying this car, whether it's young mothers or people that just want a cheap runabout, or maybe even a brand new driver, someone that's just passed their driving test and they're itching to get their hands on a brand new car rather than a used car. So I imagine a lot of buyers won't be particularly bothered about how the car looks. Now it comes in three trim levels. You've got SZ2, SZ3 and SZ4. This is for mid-range model for SZ3, which means you get 14-inch alloys. For base model, the SZ2, that makes do with steel wheels. But on this model, you do get alloy wheels. Now this particular model has been finished in a metallic colour. It's called Ablaze Red, and it does look rather nice. It will cost you £465 as an optional extra, but in the sunlight, it does look rather nice. You can see it shimmer there. Yes, very pleasant indeed. So this particular car, because it has this paint job, is priced at £10,114. Now the base model is priced at £7,999. And this model, well, the SZ3 would normally cost you £9,649. But like I say, with the optional paint, it is more. Now, if you're wondering how much the top of the range model will cost you, that is £10,649. So £1,000 more than what this car would normally cost you without the optional paint. Let's have a look inside. Oh, I've just got to be careful of all my equipment. Right. Now, speaking of equipment, let's face it, this is a cheap car and therefore don't expect too much. Now the base model does have DAB radio, which is quite good because its competitors don't offer the same feature on their base model, so that's something to bear in mind. But because this is the mid-range model, you've got air conditioning, you've also got Bluetooth as well, also got Bluetooth buttons on the steering wheel, front electric windows, and in all honesty, that's about your lot. But like I say, if you're expecting lots of features, you are likely to be disappointed. Let's turn the engine on. Hear it roaring to life. So there's no touchscreen to be had, obviously, because of the car's price point, but everything is laid out quite easily. Tune the radio like so. And then you've got volume. And you've got shortcut buttons as well. And as mentioned, you've got Bluetooth, aircon, also got a USB port down here. And yeah, like I say, that's about your lot. What about cubby holes and storage? Well, you've got two cup holders down here, got a little cubby hole here where you can put a smartphone or maybe some loose change or a wallet, something of that nature. Also got a glove box which has a reasonable amount of room. Hopefully you can see that, guys. But obviously the lid does feel quite cheap and flimsy and light, but yeah. The interior is awash with loads of hard plastics, but it's a cheap car, so it's to be expected. You've also got these very small door bins here. Hopefully you can see them. They're very thin. I'm not really too sure what you'd want to put in them. Maybe a few leaflets, some, one or two chocolate bars maybe, but they are incredibly thin, which for me is a little bit disappointing. Now, let's talk about getting a driving position. For me, I did find it a bit tricky because the steering wheel only adjusts up and down. It doesn't come towards it's not telescopic, so it doesn't come towards you or go away from you. So that does make life a little bit harder. The seat does have a decent level of adjustment, but like I say, it may take you a bit longer to get comfortable in this car because the steering wheel hasn't got the best level of adjustment. But again, that comes down to the car's price point. So again, that is to be expected. Let's turn the engine off. And let's have a look at the back. Well, let's have a look in the back, I should say. So the car, as standard, only comes in 5 doors. So if you're looking for a 3-door model, you won't be able to find one. Let's have a look to see what room in the back is like. Right, step in like so. Now it's worth noting that the driver's seat has been altered for myself. I'm 6'2", so needless to say, I am a tall chap. And the legroom, well, it's acceptable. I wouldn't want to be in the back of this car for a long journey, but obviously if I had a shorter driver, that would be better. Headroom, I know you can't see the headroom, but that's not too bad. I'd say I've got about ½ an inch between the top of my head and the roof lining. So the headroom is pretty good, but that's because this car is more of a boxy nature compared to its competitors. And the room back here isn't too bad. Now, unlike its competitors, you can theoretically seat 3 people here if you wanted to. Now, I say theoretically because the chances are you probably wouldn't want to, and you probably wouldn't be able to. Now, I haven't got anyone else with me to demonstrate for space, but if I were to jump into the middle seat, it's a very thin seat, and I'm not the broadest of guys, but I'm almost halfway into their seat and a halfway into their seat as well. So I'm not really too sure who Suzuki. No, I'm not too sure what kind of person Suzuki thinks will be able to fit in this seat. It has to be a very, very, very thin child. I think that's the only kind of person that's going to be able to fit in. But it is, you can seat 3 people in the back theoretically, but they'd all have to be pretty thin. Now, speaking of space, let's have a look at the boot. Notice the bottle holders in the back. That's quite handy. Now, this is another area where the Celerio does well, because if I open it up, you have 254 litres, which may not sound impressive, but it is biggest in class, and it's quite easy to load into. You've got a nice big opening. Yes, there is a little bit of a lip, but I would anticipate there would be no issues with loading shopping in. Now, if you do need more room, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you over 700 litres of storage space. But yes, that should be enough for everyday needs. Now let's finish off by having a look at the engine, shall we? Oh, that does need quite a hard tug. Right, let's open this up like so. Oh, there we go. Right, so what you're looking at is a 1 litre 3-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine which produces, wait for it, 67 brake horsepower. I know that gets you excited, doesn't it? That's joined with 90 newton meters of torque, or if you prefer that in old money, that's 66 pound-feet, I believe. Now, as you would anticipate, it's not very fast. So this will reach 62 miles per hour eventually in 13.5 seconds, and top speed is a mere 96 miles per hour. But let's be honest, people won't be buying this car based on speed. But on the plus side, because it's slow, it does mean it's rather frugal. So on a combined run, you're looking at about 65 miles to the gallon. So not only is this car cheap to buy, but it should be cheap to run as well. And there we have it. Right, let's close it down. My word, it's cold today. There we are. So yes, let's take one last look at the cheap but hopefully cheerful Suzuki Celerio. One last walk around. And there we have it. So yes, this is the car I'm going to be testing for the next week or so, and the full review will come next week. But in the meantime, if you do have any questions or queries about the car, please ask and I will answer your questions as soon as I can. But other than that, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe for more car obsession.